Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Siva gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Siva gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Siva gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Siva gedola, liyo besimcha. Siva gedola, liyo 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 besimcha. Be the reason someone smiles. 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 Siva gedola, liyo besimcha. Siva gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Siva gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Siva gedola, liyo besimcha. Someone smile. Be the reason someone smile. Be the reason someone smile. Be the reason someone smiles. Be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Siva gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Siva gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Siva gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Siva gedola, liyo besimcha. give a smile. Give a smile, give a smile. Give a smile, give a smile. Be the reason someone smile. Give a smile, give a smile. Give a smile, give a smile. Give a smile, give a smile. Be the reason someone smiles. Siva, Gedola, Leo, Leo, Simcha. Siva, Gedola, Leo, Leo, Simcha. Siva, Gedola, Leo, Leo, Simcha. Siva, Gedola, Leo, Simcha. Siva, Gedola, Leo, 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 Simcha. Be the reason someone smiles.
Breakfast with Elli.
Mode ani lefanecha melech chai vekayam shechezarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha.
Ay, 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 good Shabbos. Ay, da layla. Ay, da layla. Ay, 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 Shabbos Kodesh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit.
All right, everyone together now. Al divrei Torah.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kiddishanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Al Divrei Torah.
All right, Harini Mikabel.
Harini Mikabel Alay Mitzvat Aseh Shel Ve'ahavta L'Reacha Kamocha. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
All right, Torah Tziva.
Ay Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha keilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha keilat Yaakov.
All right, and that brings us to the giving of tzedakah.
I put it in the pushki,
We do
it's a
so
tzedakah
well
box.
here.
I put it in the pushki, it's a tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else to keep. Yeah, I put it in the pushki, that's a tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, that's a tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else in need.
All right. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. All right. All right, time to say the Shema. Let's do it together, all right?
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shahakalniya bidvoroi, shakalniya bidvoroi.
All right, and that takes us to breakfast. And I've got my coffee and I've got my yogurt, so we're going to make a bracha shahakol. Are you ready? Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shahakol Iyar bidvoroi. Oh, yeah.
Coffee, blessed coffee. God bless you for being a friend. When the whole world turns on me, it's only you on which I can depend. I want to taste you in the morning and a few times throughout the day. Yes, a cup or two in the evening too. For me, it's the only way.
All right. Fantastic. Today's Sphira.
49 days to count the Omer. After
Last
it
night we
starts,
counted,
Mark, at the end of my
24.
Steve, do it in shul, shmuel, just count with me.
All right.
Look for the
Tonight we
stars,
count
come
one
on.
more.
Just be
I've
sure to
already
make the
printed this
bracha. Erev is the key, Tzvi.
I printed
Count
this out
here
and I will
with
be
me.
putting this on my Shabbos table. So I remember to say the Spirit tonight. All right. You can do that with tonight and tomorrow if you'd like. Here is Cantor Laser Brook counting last night's Sphira for you.
Oy, 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 my, oy. Shlo yishov yesrim yovoy. Shem shlo yishoshav ushne yomim boimer.
All right. That is fantastic. And that takes us to today in Jewish history. And my computer is being funky. All right. All right, we got it. Today in Jewish history. All right, here we go. Candlelighting, as we said, is tonight at 7:51 p.m. Today is the yahrzeit of Rabbi Nissen Nemenov. Reb Nissen Nemenov served as the mashpia, the Hasidic mentor, at the yeshiva Tomchei Tmimim Lubavitch in Brunois, France, where he taught and guided many thousands of students. He was renowned for his piety and for his devotion to both the 6th and 7th Lubavitcher Rebbes. It was said of him that he reached the level of the Beinani, the intermediate man, as is explained in the Tanya. That's a huge, huge deal. All right. And tonight we count one more than 24 for our, we count one more than 24 for our lighting tonight. For our, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. What do I mean? For the counting of the Omer tonight. All right. Shabbos. On Shabbos we will count 25. I can say that because it's, there we go. And Shabbos night we will count 26. Shabbos is the yahrzeit of Elli. Elli, the high priest, died upon learning that the holy ark containing the tablets was captured by the Philistines and that his 2 sons were killed in the battle. Elli was the 13th in line of the Shoftim, the judges who led the people of Israel during 4 centuries between the passing of Joshua in 1245 and the crowning of King Saul in 879 BCE. It is also the yahrzeit of the Rif. The Rif, Rabbi Yitzchak Alfasi, lived from 1013 to 1103. The known by the acronym Rif, Rabbi Yitzchak Alfasi, was one of the earliest codifiers of the Talmud. In 1088, he was forced to flee his hometown of Fez, Morocco, to Spain, where he assumed the position of rabbi of Alcina, Lucerne. All right, this Shabbos we say chapter 3 of Pirkei Avot. In preparation of the festival of Shavuos, we study one of the 6 chapters of the Talmud's Ethics of the Fathers on the afternoon of each of the 6 Shabboses between Pesach and Shavuos. This week is chapter 3. And then Saturday night we will count 26 days to the Omer. We have a milestone coming up. The milestone is Pesach Sheni, the 2nd Pesach. On the 14th day of Iyar, which will be May 22nd, we will mark the day when someone who was unable to participate in the Pesach offering at the proper time would observe the mitzvah exactly 1 month later. It's customary to mark this day by eating matzah, shmura matzah if possible, and by leaving tachnun out of the prayers. Okay? So that's very important to remember that. All right. That takes us to HaYom for today. We're going to do today the 9th of Iyar and tomorrow the 10th.
Is there a Jewish equivalent to horoscopes? Can the day of your birth determine your personality or destiny? Says today's HaYom. Today is the birthday of the 4th Rebbe of Chabad, Rabbi Shmuel, the Rebbe Maharash. He was born on this day in the year 1833. Now, when the Rebbe Maharash was but a young boy of 7 years old, he and his teacher had a special meeting with the father of the Rebbe Maharash. That would be the Tzemach Tzedek, the 3rd Rebbe of Chabad. And the purpose of this meeting was so that the father could test his young boy to see how he was progressing in his studies. Now, the Rebbe Maharash performed on an extraordinary level. He really, really knew his stuff. And the teacher was very proud. And he commented, he said to the Tzemach Tzedek, "Nu, what do you say? Isn't he doing an unbelievable job?" To which the Tzemach Tzedek responded, "Why are you surprised that Tif'eres, Shabbat Tif'eres, this child born on the auspicious day of beauty within beauty, is performing so well?" Now, I'm going to assume that there are other people who share this same birthday with the Rebbe Maharash and yet still don't perform on that extraordinary level. Why is that? Well, the divine attributes that you are born with, those are special gifts from above. That's from Hashem. But whether or not you will cultivate and realize the potential of these special gifts that come from above, that depends completely on you. Who is a wise man, asks the Mishnah? One who learns from every person. Really? Every person? The great Hasidic masters took this quite literally. Today's HaYom puts you into a classroom, and your teacher is a criminal. The tzaddik, Reb Zushya of Anipoli, learned a number of important lessons. Said we can learn a number of important lessons from a thief. As I go through the list of virtuous traits of the thief, I want you to think about how incorporating these traits in your life would make you a more accomplished person and a better Jew. Firstly, number one, a thief works very quietly because for the thief, the priority is to get the job done. And the less people that know about the thief's accomplishments, the better off he is. Number two, the thief is so committed and dedicated to getting the job done, he is ready to put himself into danger in order to get it done. That's the level of commitment that the thief has. Number three, the thief recognizes that in order for his mission to be successful, even the smallest detail is of tremendous importance. He cannot afford for even one part of his mission to go wrong. Every single detail has to be executed to perfection. Number four, a thief knows that you cannot be a successful thief by just relaxing. He labors with tremendous effort and toil. Number five, a thief knows that if he's going to be successful, he's got to be on the move. He's got to do the job quickly. No time to postpone things. Number six, the thief is always confident and optimistic that things will work out. And finally, if the thief does not succeed at his mission the first time around, you can be sure that he will be back to try again and again until he succeeds.
And there you have it. All right. All right. 2 minutes for Torah is up next.
This time of year is a really exciting time of year. We're building up the weeks, counting, as it says in our parsha, Usfartam Lachem, we count, Sheva Shabbos is 7 weeks, counting up until Shavuos. It's a really exciting build-up. However, we all know that it really doesn't feel that exciting to us. We feel very restricted because these weeks we're prevented from listening to music, taking haircuts, showering. Oh, we could shower? I wish someone told me that. But we're really not in great spirits. We don't feel excited, looking forward to Shavuos, and we know the reason is because we're mourning the tragedy that happened with Rabbi Akiva's students who did not respect one another, and because of that, many of them died. A very glaring question is asked by the Shemi Shmuel. I don't understand. These are the students of the holy Rabbi Akiva, who is famous for always saying the Ahavta l'reacha kamocha zeh klal gadol b'Torah, that you need to love your fellow Jew. It is a very important rule. How could these students of the great Rabbi Akiva forget to live by these standards and they didn't love each other? He explains that they actually followed their Rebbe's teachings to a T. They loved each other tremendously. But you have to understand that loving somebody comes from having some sort of commonality with them. You love your family, you love the people you're close to because you have a commonality between you. The opposite of that is respect. Respect comes not from the commonality, but noticing the uniqueness in another individual. That is how you learn to respect somebody. The students of Rabbi Akiva had a lot of love for each other, so much love they were all loving each other as one large unit. But they didn't identify the uniqueness of the other individual to really learn to respect the other person. Rav Usher Weiss once said a quote, if one would have a Litvish cup, a Hasidish heart, the integrity of a Yeki, the Tamimus of a Hungarian Jew, the respect for the Torah like a Sephardi, and the love for Israel like a Dati Le'umi, that would be the perfect Jew. Meaning to say, there are so many unique positive qualities of all different types of Jews. Yes, Am Yisrael Chai, we love Am Yisrael, but we also have to respect the uniqueness of Reb Yisrael. Have a great Shabbos.
I'm not so sure I agree with that one. That one got me a little bit. Kind of interesting, huh? All right. I will done l'chavschus. We will judge it favorably, and hopefully what I was put off about wasn't really what he was talking about, which is important. All right. A word from our sponsors.
And now, a word from our sponsors. PestProRidol.com.
PestProRidol.com. Trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidol.com.
Tarzane Group. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to tarzanegroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565 and order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at tarzanegroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign at gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications, logos, wall hangings, Judaica, and you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching.
Torah, 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 Siva Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Siva Lanu Moshe.
All right, patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/tipjar if you would like to contribute to our campaign to get a brand new computer so that we don't have glitches like we've been having all morning over here. Okay, that's really important. So if you can afford a couple of shekels, that would be really, really cool. I would appreciate it. All right, so would all of our listeners and viewers. All right, Rabbi Sachs, Covet and Conversation, Part 2.
This was not a foregone conclusion, because martyrdom previously meant choosing to die for the sake of God. You could live and as it were, convert to another faith. One of the demonic aspects of the Nazi genocide was that Jews were not given the choice. By calling them in retrospect martyrs, those who died al Kiddush Hashem, Jews gave the victims the dignity in death, of which they were so brutally robbed in life. But then comes the fifth dimension. This is how Maimonides sums it up. There are other deeds which are also included in the category of Chilul Hashem, desecrating God's name, such as when a person of great Torah stature, renowned for his piety, does deeds which, although they aren't transgressions, cause people to speak disparagingly of him. This is also a Chilul Hashem, a desecration of God's name. And all this depends on the stature of the sage. In other words, people looked up to as role models must act as role models. Piety in relation to God must be accompanied by exemplary behavior in relation to one's fellow humans. When people associate religiosity with integrity, decency, humility, and compassion, that is a Kiddush Hashem. God's name is sanctified. When they come to associate it with contempt for others and for the law, the result is a Chilul Hashem. Common to all five dimensions of meaning is the radical idea central to Jewish self-definition that God has risked his reputation in the world, his shame, his name, by choosing it to associate it with a single and singular people. God is the God of all humanity, but God has chosen Israel to be his witnesses, his ambassadors to the world. When we fail in this role, it's as if God's standing in the eyes of the world has been damaged. For almost 2,000 years, the Jewish people was without a home, a land, civil rights, security, and the ability to shape its destiny and fate. It was cast in the role of what Max Weber called a pariah people. By definition, a pariah cannot be a positive role model. That is when Kiddush Hashem took on its tragic dimension as the willingness to die for one's faith. That is no longer the case. Today, for the first time in history, Jews have both sovereignty and independence in Israel and freedom and equality elsewhere. Kiddush Hashem must therefore be restored to its positive sense of exemplary decency in the moral life. That is what led the Hittites to call Abraham Nasi Elokim Ata Betochenu, a prince of God in our midst. It's what leads Israel to be admired when it engages in international rescue and relief, as it's currently doing to the victims and the injured of the earthquake in Nepal in India. The concepts of Kiddush and Chilul Hashem form an indissoluble connection between the holy and the good. Lose that, and we betray our mission as a holy nation. The conviction that being a Jew involves the pursuit of justice and the practice of compassion is what led our ancestors to stay loyal to Judaism despite all the pressures to abandon it. It would be the ultimate tragedy if we lost that connection now, at the very moment that we're able to face the world on equal terms. Long ago, we were called on to show that religion and morality go hand in hand. Never was that more needed than in an age riven by religiously motivated violence in some countries and rampant secularity in others. To be a Jew is to be dedicated to the proposition that loving God means loving his image, humankind. There is no greater challenge, nor in the 21st century.
All right. In the sixth Aliyah, the autumn holiday of Sukkot is now introduced. That's right. During the 7-day holiday, we are commanded to sit in outdoor booths, take the 4 species, the citron, the palm, the myrtle, and the willow, and rejoice, the samachta, before Hashem. The final holiday talked about in Torah is Shmini Atzeres, a one-day holiday which immediately follows Sukkot, mistakenly taken by people as the last day of Sukkot. It's really a holiday in and of itself. In the seventh and last Aliyah for this week, Parshas Emor, we are instructed to use the purest of olive oils for the daily kindling of the temple menorah and to arrange 12 showbread on the temple table every Shabbos. Torah tells us the story of the Jewish man who was put to death for blaspheming Hashem. And the Torah portion concludes with the penalties for committing murder, property damage, and personal injury. And then we have Rabbi Avtson with Chumash and Rashi. All right. And that takes us to Parsha Points with Rabbi Epstein now. How are we doing on time? Oh, great.
Parsha Points for Emor on Friday. There is nothing as whole as a heart broken wide open, and nothing as permanent as the temporary sukkah. Think that corporation will be here forever, that athlete will be fast and agile forever? The one thing we know that will be here forever is the sukkah. What is permanent and what is transient? The flimsy sukkah is forever. Ignore the hype. Invest in the forever. Parsha Points for Emor on Shabbos. The Torah seems to drop the mitzvah of menorah completely unexpectedly. Maybe this is the lesson. The sukkah protects us. The menorah is our light source. Think we are dependent on fortresses, need sunlight and fluorescence? The miracle of Sukkot is the miracle of the light of Hashem, and that's all we need.
Okay. Shnayim Yomi for today.
I wanted to focus on one point of the Torah, of the pasuk that said, "Laman yedu derosechem ki basukos shafti es bnei Yisrael." The generation should know that the Jewish people have sat in the sukkah. The Bach in Hilchos Tzitzis says a very, very interesting idea, and it's a mitzvah lechatchila, and b'di'evet, if you didn't do it, you are still yotzei. But he says that whenever the Torah mentions the word lema'an, it's a requirement that when you do the mitzvah, you should know why you're doing the mitzvah. So when you're sitting in the sukkah, leman yedu derosechem, ki basukos shafti es bnei Yisrael. You should know that the reason why you're sitting in the sukkah is because Klal Yisrael in the desert sat in the sukkah. There are two other mitzvahs, the Bach says, where it is a requirement for us to know why we're doing the mitzvah when we do it. The other one, because it's in Parashat, he mentioned it first in Hilchos Tzitzis. The one that he's talking about, as we say in the Torah, we say in our davening at least twice a day, L'ma'an tizkiru, by the mitzvah of tzitzis. So when we do tzitzis, we should remember. We should remember the mitzvahs that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out of the land of Mitzrayim. The other requirement is by the mitzvah of tefillin. By tefillin it says, L'ma'an tesaper b'azdei bincha ben bincha. You should tell your children about the fact that we came out of Mitzrayim and that which I did to the Egyptians. So in these three mitzvahs, wherever it says the word L'ma'an, L'ma'an means that when you do the mitzvah, you should in fact have kavanah, intent, to know the reason why we are actually doing this mitzvah. It's part of the mitzvah. L'chatchila, b'di'evet, if you didn't do it, you're still yotzei the mitzvah, but it enhances the hidur mitzvah by knowing what the value and what the purpose of this mitzvah is. A wonderful Shabbat to all of you. Shabbat Shalom.
Keine bei dem Jahr der nehmen gerne Schiffre Liad wird er kennen nein oder der hin hat schon noch graf so eine Bus Rabas so oder nach China lager schon an im Bus die my dear friends, let's give some tzedakah erev Shabbos Parshas Emor. Should give a lot of tzedakah because there's a lot of candle lighting necessary for this Shabbos, because this Shabbos talks about all the holidays and every yontif with the candle lighting. But obviously we're going to light the Shabbat candles, and together with Shabbat candles we give some tzedakah and we express our prayers. So my dear friends, especially ladies, girls, when you light the Shabbat candles, make a special prayer for the redemption, for collective redemption, for the individual redemption, for healing, for the coming back of our hostages. Basically, for one word, Mashiach. Custom as it during the period, during the weeks of Pesach and Shavuot, every Shabbat we learn a chapter of Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers. This week we will be learning chapter Gimel, the third chapter So I want to just focus on one of the Mishnahs over here, which a beautiful experience that I personally had this week. Mishnah Vav, the Mishnah says, Rabbi Chalafta ben Doise ish kfar Hananya Omer, and there it talks about the importance of learning Torah in a group, in a setting of 10. So he says, when 10 people sit and learn Torah, God is amongst them. And then it continues. By the way, not only 10, even if it's only 5. Then he says, how do I know if it's only 3? He says, yes, afilu shloisha. When 3 people sit together and learn, God is present. And for that matter, he says, 2 also. God listens into when 2 people sit together and learn Torah, God listening into. So you're going to think, okay, so we settle for 2. He says, no. 1. And we spoke a lot about it, 1 this week. Even 1 person who is sitting and learning Torah says, the Eibishter, God says, whatever place you will mention my name, I'm going to come to you and bless you. The 1. Now he speaks over here about learning Torah, but the same thing is also about doing a mitzvah. So I want to share with you a beautiful experience I had this week. Divine Providence made it I had to spend some time this week in meetings in city Halifax. Not a very Jewish big community, to say the least. And in fact, I want to use this opportunity to thank the local shluchim, Rabbi Feldman and his wife, for being so helpful to while I was over there. But after full days of meetings with different individuals, I felt I have to go out and find a Jew. And I was told there's a local Sobe store, big, called themselves Canada's family grocery store. I was told that they have over there a little section they sell kosher foods. Figured I might find some kosher food, and more than this, maybe I'll find some Jewish people. I took my tefillin, I went to the store, 7 o'clock in the evening. The sun is still bright and shining day, and indeed I hang out around this area. And there I noticed a person I should say, didn't know who it was, having a kosher cake in his cart. I figured it must be Jewish, and we struck a conversation, and indeed he is Jewish. And he tells me a story. 20 odd years ago, he worked on a Russian ship. He's from Russia, where borders Finland, and he works on the ship. The ship anchored in Halifax. Got off the boat, but somehow when he wanted to return to the boat was gone, and he is been in Halifax since. Not that much involved in the Jewish community, to say the least. Eventually I asked him, how about putting out the fill-in? He looks at me and says, when? I say, now. Where? Here. Any place that you will mention God's name, God will be present. So why not doing it here? He happily did it. Now I have to tell you, Halifax Sobeys are not used to people walking there and putting on tefillin. This is not a very Jewish area, and he definitely made for a scene, but a positive one. He showed how wherever a Jew is can bring godliness in it, and it brings God's presence and God's blessing. So my friends, wherever you are, whenever you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah, do so. With every mitzvah, you bring God into this world. And please God, we want to have you fully here. And this is with the coming of Mashiach. Good Shabbos.
How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? All right. Now we are going to go to our Haftorah for the day. The Haftorah for Emor is found in Ezekiel, and discusses various laws that pertain to the Kohanim, the priests, and also discussed at length in the first part of this week's Torah portion. Yechezkel prophesies about the service of the Kohanim in the third temple, which will be rebuilt after the final redemption. The prophet describes their priestly vestments, the personal care, whom they may and may not marry, and their special purity requirements, which preclude them from coming in contact with a corpse unless a next of kin. He will also then discuss their calling as teachers and spiritual leaders. The Navi conveys Hashem's word, "You shall give them no possession in Israel. I am their possession." The Kohanim do not receive a portion of the land of Israel. Instead, they partake of the karbanos, the sacrifices, as well as various tithes. If you'd like to learn more about the Haftorah, please just look in your Chumash, as you will find a detailed informational section that will teach you about it, or even better, look in the Chayenu, okay? Chayenu has some detailed information, and as if that was not enough, Rabbi Yitzi Horowitz has his beautiful Torah from My Eyes, Words of Wisdom from Rabbi Yitzi, and he always talks about the Haftorah, and this week he talks about Sfiras HaOmer as well. As you well know, Rabbi Yitz Horowitz is afflicted with the terrible disease of ALS, and most of his body has shut down, but he is able to use his eyes and his computer to create this, and he creates one of these every single week. It's an unbelievable feat and shows what man can accomplish. All right? Tehillim is up next. All right. I would like to have you all say Tehillim today. Are you ready? Here we go. Chapters 23 and 123.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי, לא אחסר, בינוס תשע, ירביצני, על מי מנוחוס ינהלני, נפשי שובב, ינחני ומעגלי צדק, למען שמו, גם כי ילך בגיא צלמובס, לא ירא, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צוררי, תשענת ושמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה, אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני. כל ימי חיי ושבתי בביס אדוני לאורך ימים.
שרמלס ולך נסוסי יסייני הישבי בשמיים הנחייני יעבוד עם היד עדיניהם כי הנה שבך יד כבדו
All right, fantastic. We are doing Tanya for today for the 9th of Iyar.
Tanya thoughts for the 9th of Iyar. Tanya offers us a life hack, a shortcut to stir up the innate love that's hidden under all the clutter of life. That's one of Tanya's gifts, always on the lookout for creative ideas to help us out. So try to snug it. When we change the way we look at people, people change the way they look to us. Profound, huh? Start seeing all the love Hashem shows us, and you'll start feeling all your love for Him.
Let's talk Tanya for the 9th of Iyar of a leap year. In yesterday's Tanya, we spoke about the incredible unity with God and the holiness that we experience and that we achieve every single time we do a mitzvah. And we ended off with the question, that might all be true, but I don't feel that at all. And that could be a distressing thought. And this thought and idea, and maybe even the distress, is echoed by one of the prophets. His name was Asaph. And in chapter 73 of the Tehillim, of the Psalms, he writes as follows. This is a verse. He says, Va'ani ba'ar v'lo ye'eda. I am a fool. I don't understand. I don't appreciate. Behemais hayisi imach. I'm like an animal with you. Va'ani tamid imach. And I am always constantly with you. And the Alter Rebbe explains that Asaph is speaking on behalf of all the Jewish people, especially now in exile, when we have lowly and coarse bodies and animal souls, and we don't feel and experience the holiness and the unity, which happens every single time we do a mitzvah. And Asaph says, we are fools. Va'ani bar v'lo ye'eda. We are fools. We don't appreciate. We don't connect. We don't understand. Behemos, we are like animals. I think this is an example we've given in a past segment. Everyone goes to, they go to France, and they go to visit the Louvre, and people are walking past the Mona Lisa, and they're oohing and eyeing, and then you have a little dog, a poodle, that walks by, and it looks at the Mona Lisa. It experiences and understands and appreciates nothing. We're the same way. We're doing a mitzvah. We're like an animal. We're like a dog. We're like a cat. We have no clue of what's going on. But nevertheless, what does he say? Behemos hayisi imach. Yes, we are like animals, but we're with you. Va'ani tamid imach, and we're always with you. Meaning, what Asaph is saying is, the fact that we are fools and we don't appreciate, and we don't appreciate the connection. The fact that we are actually like animals doesn't change the fact that we are behemos hayisi imach. We're animals together with you, connected to God. Va'ani tamid imach, I'm always connected to you. In other words, our lack of appreciation for what's going on doesn't in any which way impact the actual experience of what is happening at the moment. And with this, we've pretty much concluded this chapter, chapter 46, where we talk about this reflective love. And I want to take a moment to go back to the beginning of this chapter. A few days ago, when we introduced this chapter, we mentioned that this love, this reflective love, which is discussed in this chapter, is the most accessible and the easiest love for God to achieve. The words the Alter Rebbe used were Karev hadavar mi'oid, very, very accessible. Why is this love so much easier and so much more accessible than any of the loves that we've spoken about in the previous chapters? The Rebbe explains that every one of the loves that we've talked about up until this point, before this chapter, we've talked about, for those who recall, we talked about the Ava Rabba, this tremendous love which is a gift from above, and the Avas Olam, love which comes about through meditation. We've talked about 2 levels of hybrid love. Then we've even talked about a love that comes from compassion. But the common denominator in all of these loves is that I need to somehow be worthy of the love. I need to rise to that level to which I can experience and feel that love. The holier I am, the more refined I am, the more transparent I am to God, the easier it is for me to arrive at that love. But enter the love of our chapter, reflective love, and it's very different. We've talked the entire time about the imbalance over here. The greater the imbalance, the greater the love. Meaning that when entity A showers entity B with love, the greater entity A is, and the more removed that entity is from entity B, the greater the love that the receiving entity will have for the benefactor of that love. That's the whole example we gave earlier on in this chapter about the king who showers his love and affection upon a lowlife who is in the garbage dump. And the same thing in our relationship with God. This reflective love, the greater the imbalance, the greater the love. To put that in simple words, what that means is, the lower I am, the more coarse I am, the more unspiritual I am, the more I lack sensitivity towards God. Then when I contemplate God's love for me, actually, that causes me to have an even greater love for God. This is the only love that the Alter Rebbe describes in Tanya, where it's not that the holier I am, the more this love is accessible. It's the opposite. The lowlier I am, the more accessible this love is for me. With this, we have concluded this chapter, but not yet the topic. We've talked about the idea of reflective love, reflecting on the idea that God took us out of Egypt, brought us close to Him, entered into this incredibly close relationship with Him, and how that should arouse our love for Him. But we still have one question left. After all, God took us out of Egypt. That was more than 3,300 years ago. A lot of time has passed since then. Is it possible for me to still generate that same level and degree of love and passion for God for something that happened so long ago? That is the topic that we will be discussing, God willing, in tomorrow's Tanya.
All right. Fantastic. And that takes us to, come on. It's coming. All right. That takes us to Sefer HaMitzvahs of the Rambam.
No, it's not impossible that
Classes number 52
just study Rambam each and every day.
Baruch Hashem, it is day number 52 of our daily study of Rambam Sefer Mitzvahs. And in the 3 chapters a day of Mishnah Torah, Baruch Hashem, it is day number 52 of our daily study of Yom Tov, the laws of resting on a And in Jewish the 3 holiday. Chapters a day of Mishnah Torah, we started that yesterday. We are now in Yom Tov, the laws 4, 5, and 6. And in the 3 chapters a day of Mishnah Torah, we started that yesterday. As I mentioned, we're going to have different holidays every day. And the pattern is a little bit repetitive because I think you probably picked it up yesterday when we did those Pesach-related mitzvahs. And the pattern is the same thing repetitive. The day before that when we did Yom Kippur-related mitzvahs. Basically, you have the positive commandment to rest and negative prohibition. Again, it's the same thing doing the day before that labor. That's pretty much the pattern. Basically, you have, so positive commandment number 162, the commandment to rest on Shavuos. Shavuos being the culmination of the counting of the 50 days commandment to rest on Shavuos, and in culmination of the counting of that is the only Jewish holiday that is not set on the calendar. There's no date for it. All the other holidays we know when they are based on the date. That is the only Jewish holiday that is which day, which month on the calendar. Shavuos is not based on a date. It's based on the culmination of the count day. Count 49 days, and on the 50th, Shavuos is not based on a date. It's based on the culmination. Positive commandment to rest on Shavuos is positive count 46 days. Our first mitzvah. Negative commandment 325. What do you think it is? Of course, prohibition against doing creative labor on negative commandment 325. All right, let's do another one. What do you think it is? Positive commandment 163. Doing to rest on Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the first day of the new year. 163. Don't ask me why. Torah tells you it's on the first day of the 7th month. First day of the new year, but it's 7th month. Okay, that's a discussion for another time. But Torah tells you very briefly the way the Torah counts the months. I'm only mentioning it here because that's all the holidays that we learn very briefly. The Torah refers to them as being. I'm only mentioning a number of days into a certain number of months. So I'm just mentioning it. The Torah refers to them as being be helpful certain number of days. The first month is this number of the month when we were given the calendar. The first month when we left Egypt. In fact, be helpful to understand. Moshe Rabbeinu was given first month is the calendar right before we left each calendar. So the first month is Nisan. That's what we say. Like Pesach is the 15th day of the first month. Calendar right before we left. Right. In this case, so the first Rosh Hashanah, which is on the first day of the Pesach, is the 15th day of the first month. Okay. So we had positive commandment 163 to rest on Rosh Hashanah. First day of the Pesach. And what do you think the next mitzvah is? Negative commandment 326. Commandment 163. Negative commandment 326 is the prohibition against doing creative labor. Next mitzvah is Rosh Hashanah. Okay, and that's those are our mitzvahs for today, and we still have more Yom Tov related mitzvahs tomorrow. We will see you then, God willing. Mitzvah is Rosh Hashanah. Okay, and that's those are our mitzvahs for today, and we still have more Yom Tov related.
Today we study the final mitzvahs related to not working on the holidays. We got positive mitzvah number 166, the mitzvah to refrain from work on the first day of Sukkot, and negative mitzvah number 327, not to work on the first day of Sukkot. We got positive mitzvah number 167, not to work on the 8th day of Sukkot, also known as Shmini Atzeret, as well as negative mitzvah number 328, the prohibition not to work on Shmini Atzeret. We also segue now to the specific mitzvahs related to each of the holidays, and we begin with Passover. Negative mitzvah number 199 is the special prohibition that on the eve of Passover, from midday and on, we are not to eat any chametz.
Simple and easy, which takes us to matters of Mashiach for today.
והוא גואלנו, והוא גואלנו, משיח צדקנו, הרבי מלובביץ' מלך המשיח, הרבי מלובביץ'.
All right. May the merciful one grant us the day that is all good, the day that is all law. All right. The time of Mashiach is called the day that is all long. How are we to understand this cryptic expression? When Hashem's essence will be revealed, both the world and mankind will endure forever. This means the era will perfect not only the future, but also the past, elevating everything that happened throughout the exile and revealing the original purpose behind creation. On a smaller scale, we too have the power to change our past. We have to transform every aspect of our life, even our mistakes, into lessons and sources of inspiration. Watch this video for an example.
I grew up in Brooklyn in the early 80s in a neighborhood called Seagate, which was predominantly Jewish. I grew up in the home of my father's parents, both of them Holocaust survivors, tattoos on their arm, and they shared with me the strife, the struggle, this unreal, inhuman experience that they went through, escaping from labor camps, being liberated. And despite the tattoos that they had on their arms and the stories that they shared with me, as I grew, I just really didn't connect to what a horror they went through. It was something that was distant and it was in the past. It wasn't current. It wasn't anything that I needed. As I grew, I married a girl. We met in 1997, went to college. She went to college. I ran my businesses. I wound up in the retail and in the software business. Did very well, but again, didn't connect to Jewish life whatsoever. At the request of my father, I gave my son a bris, but I didn't know why.
I grew up on Shluchas in the heart of Brooklyn, in an area called Kensington. While I was raised with the concept of Mashiach as a very central point of Shluchas, when I myself joined my parents on Shluchas, there was a tremendous fear of presenting the ideas of Mashiach, especially to very, very secular people. It's foreign, maybe to some it's not even a Jewish concept, and I think because I was so passionate about it, but I didn't have the ICs, I didn't have the terms how to explain it, it was always something that really bothered me. By the kiddos, we were sitting amongst friends, and we were talking about that there's a real need to have proper ICs, better ways to be able to present the idea of Geula. We shared different ideas of how we could speak about it openly and freely, even to a very secular looking guy. A few weeks after that Kinus Shluchim Fabrengen, I remember one winter Shabbos morning, in walks a Yid by the name Steve.
Around the time my son was 5, my daughter was 8, there was a major health crisis that took place in my home. And the way that the crisis was resolved made me take a step back and start questioning certain things that were taking place in my life. Thank God the medical issue resolved, but the thoughts and the questions stayed. And I decided one Shabbos to dig up my old talis. The creases were very, very fresh. I walked a half a block, and I walk in and I see a pile of talisim, people sitting on folding chairs. I sit down and I start reading in English. And at the end, I'm invited to stay for Kiddush.
Because the topic of Geula was something that me and my friend just bringing about, the topic of Geula came into a conversation right away by that Kiddush.
When this conversation about Mashiach bubbled up to the surface, it really changed my frame of mind.
I told him these ices. Do you know what the difference is between a wandering Jew and a journeying Jew? A journeying Jew has a destination. Steve, gotta know the destination.
I realized that growing up, Yiddishkeit was about maintaining customs and traditions, and I never connected to that. It was about keeping a flame alive from thousands of years ago, and I just couldn't find meaning for that in my life. When I learned about Mashiach, and I really understood this concept, it became about being on a mission. And I was able to see very, very clearly that maybe what I can do is not global, but in my world, I can do it. And that's when everything changed. So I went on Kingston Avenue to a wonderful sefer by the name of Rabbi Raskin, and I got myself a pair of kosher tefillin. There's an ultimate truth, but then there's an approach. And the concept of Mashiach presented the way that he presented it, meaning, here's the unadulterated truth, but you don't have to go off the deep end. Let's talk about what it can mean to your life.
I remember Steve's excitement. I remember how he jumped up from his seat when I told him the vert that he has the responsibility, as the Rebbe says, to teach. If you know Aleph and you know someone else who doesn't know, teach Aleph. You have a responsibility, and therefore you also have the koyach to actually change the world, your world, and make Mashiach a reality.
Yes, of course. It's about Avraham Avinu, it's about Moshe Rabbeinu, it's about Zaidi and Bubby. But it's also about how to take all of that, all the self-sacrifice, all the underground yeshivas, all the tattoos, and all of this, and turn it into something forward-facing. My children today are in Cheder. My daughter just competed in Chidon. She saw Aleph for the first time 3 years ago. And we owe it to people to show them how they can live.
It's an integral part of the reaching another Yid. This is how we live. This is how we think. This is how we breathe. This is our call to action.
How can we not share these concepts? This is how we activate the world. When we talk to Balabatim, when we talk to business people, when we talk to people who have influence, these are the people who can move the dial more than even people within a firm community. Today, I would never dream of calling myself Steve. Only the IRS calls me Steve. Today, I'm Zalman. I walk with my children, I live in Goshen, I walk 2.6 miles in each direction every single Shabbos. My Kindlech walk with me. We wave to everybody on the street. People stop and they say how impressive it is that they see this. The concept of Mashiach belongs to every single Yid. The same way that we dance with this on Simchas Torah with a closed Torah because it's our inheritance, Mashiach is no less our inheritance. To understand that we can have a limitless existence in a limited world is something that absolutely needs to be discussed. It's an achras, it's a responsibility. We have to do it. We don't have a choice.
Earth. Thank you to all our PSAs. We appreciate you. We just can't squeeze you in today. I wish we could. All right. Everything that works follows this model. Everything important in life is an investment that requires taking real risks. Everything that matters, really matters, requires putting all of yourself, investing your very soul into the moment, and tying yourself to the outcome. Think about that. Huh? Why? Because that's how every life begins, and that's what every life is about. And that's how it is in business, and so too in every investment in life. You can't help another person until you've felt that person's pain. You can't teach a student until you can hear your words from within your student's mind. You can't bring about real change in a community unless you identify yourself as one of its members. You can't solve any problems in the world in a real lasting way unless you mean everything that you do. Monique Sternin, an outstanding social worker, tells of the time that she arrived in New Zealand on a project to assist Maori women. One of the elder women told her, "If you're here to help me, I don't need your help, and your help is useless. But if your destiny is tied to my destiny, we can work together." You can only fix things from the inside out. And so, real life means living dangerously. Ooh. You know, there's a movie called The Year of Living Dangerously. So we now know that our lives are the lives of living dangerously. I know. Can you imagine? All right. Come talk to me on social media, any of the Actors Rabbis groups, at Clubhouse or Facebook or Instagram. Come on. Give me a break over here. There we go. At LinkedIn, Telegram, Twitter, WhatsApp, YouTube, or theactorsrabbi.com. And you can...
Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesroinan al kol ma sheborasa lachayos bohem nefesh kol chai baruch chai haolamim.
All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you to my Patreon sponsors, Pespro Riddle, Tarzan Orchids, Dina D Design, Bracha Biederman, Avi G, Greza Musavi. You should become a sponsor by going to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/new computer. if you'd like to help us get a new computer today. We count 25 days to the Omer tonight. Last night we counted 24. It's still early enough in the day that I can say that. Please make sure you print out for Shabbat. As I told you before, I've already printed mine out. Looks just like this. If you need a source to print out Sfiras HaOmer, contact me, and I will get you one. All right. In New York City, you light Shabbos candles at 7:51. And Shabbos will end at 8:57. 7:51, 8:57. Yeah, it's getting later. Next week, it's going to be Shabbos after 8 o'clock. So that's pretty cool, right? All right. Mizmor LeDavid. It's a beautiful song that we sing for Shabbat. And I thought that we would play that today in honor of Shabbat. Thank you for being here. In the words of Reb Isaac Hamler, have affection for a fellow, Hashem will have affection for you. Do a kindness for a fellow, Hashem will do a kindness for you. Draw a fellow close, and Hashem will draw you close to him. Make it a great and glorious Shabbos, a great and glorious day. Do something nice and something good for someone else today. Please be the reason someone smiles. And I will see you, God willing, on Sunday. Have a great Shabbos. Bye-bye.
מזמור לדוד, השם רואי לא אחזר, בינו דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינעלני. נפשי ישובר, נפשי ישובר, ינחני במעגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צלמוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן, תערוך לפני שולחן, תערוך לפני שולחן, נגד צורריי. דישנת בשמן ראשי, דישנת בשמן ראשי, דישנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב החסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית השם, ושבתי בבית השם לאורך ימים. ניי 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 Bring them home,
them home. We've been praying for so long, so Abba, please bring them home. Bring them home, please bring them home. We've been praying for so long, so Abba, please bring them home. We're coming home, we're almost home.
Ay, 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 good Shabbos. Ein dida dida laila, ein dida dida laila. Ay, 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 Shabbos kaideh.